welcome again to River Valley Farm. Excuse the rain. This is our pass at the remnants of Hurricane Florence that hit North Carolina and is working its way up the, up the Appalachian chain basically, but we're a couple hundred miles west of where it's being a real problem. But it's been raining all day. So today we are working on some of General Motors' better ideas here. This truck belongs to my mother-in-law. It's a, I don't know, late 90s half-ton Chevy, 4.3 V6 automatic 4-wheel drive. Just a little truck basically, but it's her farm truck. It's the only truck she's got. As you can see, the body on it's kind of decent. It's not completely rusted out for some reason, because everything on the underside is rusted out. I've been changing brake lines on this thing for 2 months, or I should say battling with brake lines for 2 months. You change one, then the next one blows, and so on and so forth. But anyway, this is the better idea I'm talking about. These silly side post battery connectors. I do not like those at all. So I'm not going to change the battery cables on it because I'm tired of working on this thing, but I do think that I have a parasitic drain on the battery, so we're going to work on that for a minute. But yeah, I did buy the top post. Quiet, please. I did buy a top post battery so that we'll actually be able to charge the battery and jump it off without having to go through these little foolish bolts that they put on here. Anyway, let me get set up and we'll test this real quick and see what we get for a drain. Alright, so my meter doesn't want to read it for whatever reason. You should set your meter on milliamps and then connect from the post on the battery to the ground cable, and I hope that spark is showing up when I touch it, so we know there's something going on here, but I'm not getting any reading on the meter. Typically with vehicles such as this, you're always going to have a spark on your ground, but that's to do with the computer and stuff. This, on the other hand, I'm not real sure what that is, but that looks to be some type of speaker wire. Yeah, that's a speaker wire or something. I don't know why, I don't know what it's for, but it really doesn't need to be there, doesn't look like. So we're going to disconnect this, hook our ground back up, make sure the truck still starts and runs. And then we've still got a spark, but that's to keep up with the ECM or PCM or whatever General Motors calls it. But anyway, yeah. Other than my dislike of these side post battery terminals that you can't do much with except look at and be like, oh, those are cool. But anyway, yeah, we're hiding out here in the barn trying to stay dry. Catching up, fixing everything. I told you to leave the hay in the barn, didn't I? Let me get this tightened up for good and then we'll get back. Alright, so when these things get all stripped out and you can't do anything else with them, to get them tight. A pair of vice grips does just as good as anything else. But yes, GM's better ideas. I sincerely hope they quit using these after they ran them for 20 years, but I bet they didn't. Anyway. Alright, let's see what happens here. Make sure it still starts and runs, and or at least as well as it did anyway. Oh. Well, that's about all we can ask for. Still starts, still runs. As I said, it's just got a V6 in it, so it somebody thought it sounded really cool at one point in time and put a cherry bomb on it, or a glass pack, or whatever you call them. So,
why did you stir her up?
Because I did. Anyway, as I was saying, this is what we're getting from Hurricane Florence here, and you know, as I said, we've been doing off and on work on this truck, trying to get it back to life, drivable condition. So yeah. Anyway, on to the next project, which is going to be new blades on that. Alright, so second project for today. Oh, we got to put new blades on this Bush Hog. As you can see, this one vacated its post in a rather large hurry. It just absolutely sheared off right there at the bolt hole. It hopefully that problem will be solved with the addition of 2 new blades, and we'll keep the old one that's still on it for a spare. We have new blade bolts. I like the type that pin lock the nut instead of using just relying on the lock washer, especially on this hillside right here, where yeah, there are, it's almost like it was terraced, or someone tried to terrace it with a plow. It steps, you know, I mean, it goes and then up and steps off again all the way to the top. And it's a really fun hill to try and climb, but with all the different you know, because you can have one place that it'll be one pass and you'll be fine for a side hill, and then the next place you're pretty much in danger of flipping over. So I've been going up and down that hill trying to get it mowed off, and it has been a long process. I've been working on this since, well, June sometime probably. But in between flattening a tire on the tractor and then having to do the tires on the tractor, plus working at my job, and then let's see, this is actually the second Bush Hog that we've used. I had to take let's see, there was another Bush Hog previous to this one, but it was pretty much an oversized lawnmower. It was still a 6-foot cutting width, but it had none of this bracing on the deck, so it tacoed pretty quickly. This one was sitting in the weeds, and it's a way heavier built cutter, but it's not a really good one either. So yeah, it's had its fair share of licks on this hillside, and I've never seen anything quite like this as far as just being extremely rough, and there's rocks everywhere. It's hard on stuff, period. So anyway, step one, we're gonna fire up the little 150 and get this thing high enough off the ground I can actually get underneath of it. Alright, so what we're looking at here. Hey, you can even see under there. That's a great thing. So, as you can see, there's our blade bolt and the other blade that's still on it. So, we got to pull that stump jumper off and then get the new blades put on. I would like to tell you there's an easier way than taking it off, but there's really not that I'm aware of, at least not with this one. Some of the rotary mowers in the world have a little bit wider stump jumper, and then there's a hole in the deck where you can turn it around and then use an impact or something to take the bolts out to get the blades off. This one's a little bit too cheap for that. So anyway guys, let me get this off and then I'll see what's next. Okay, so now that we got those off, one thing to always check is to make sure that your seal is still good here. It doesn't show any signs of leakage, so we're good on that. Oh, this noisy child. Anyway, now that we got that off, you can see that this deck is pretty much on its way out too. It's been beat and abused and had blades thrown through it and everything else. Still better than the one that was on the other Bush Hog, but you know, it's not going to last very much longer either. So we're going to have to make an investment. Anyway, there's the stump jumper. So as you can see, this one still has a nut with a pin through it and a lock washer to hold it tight. And this one does not, and that is the one that is obviously missing a blade. So, you know, there's some proof to my argument for, of course that bolt's not loose at all, so I don't know what happened there, but anyway, the blade left its job. It sheared off and left us high and dry. So we will get this pulled off, put the new blades on, and stick this whole mess back up under here, and maybe one of these days when it dries up again, we'll get to use it. Alright, so here we have our stripped down stump jumper, is what we call it. As you can see, it's got some excess material on it. We're just going to scrape that stuff off as best we can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it does not need to have all this old grass and dirt and stuff wedged underneath the blade. So yeah. Cleaned up as much as we can. This one here was run loose at one point in time. There's a little bit of a lip around here. Yeah, just basically good fun stuff. Yeah, you can see that hole's kind of egg-shaped just a little bit, so you have to really tighten that bolt. Anyway, it'll have to do for now, guys. So yeah, since we're not going to get to run this thing today anyway, I might as well just go ahead and cut this video now. So yeah. This is what I do when it rains, and it's been raining a whole lot this year. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, guys, if you like the video, please comment, rate, and subscribe for more. And thanks for watching, and we'll see what comes up next.